We've done the walk around here. We've seen a lot of the features. Now let's step inside the cabin and take a look at what controls those features. Welcome to the inside of the 2024 Ineos Grenadier Trialmaster. I do want to mention before we go too much further, I don't work for Ineos or anything like that. This is strictly something I want to do because I like the vehicle, and honestly, I think I'd like to see more of them on our roads. Why don't we start with one of the most obvious and interesting features that Ineos has decided to go with on this, and that's the overhead panel here. Let's face it, it's just cool. From front to back, we have our interior lighting controls, cabin lights, on-off for the automatic interior lights or the manual interior lights. You have your traction control cutoff switches and your downhill assist switch. Here we have a nice feature, which is an adjustment for the headlights. You can move them up and down depending on where your sitting position is. The auxiliary lights for up front. Moving farther back, we have the speakers and the microphone for the phone system and the CarPlay system. And then we have the push buttons for the front and rear differential lock. Over here you have the off-road mode. Great setting to use for just general off-roading. It disables the proximity sensors, the parking assist features, the seatbelt alarms, all the things you really want on the road, but don't want off-road. One button shuts them all off. Then moving over here, you have your Wade mode. All behind that is all auxiliary or lighting switches. Because this vehicle is both equipped with a deep cycle battery and an inverter, this switch right here gives you all-time power to all of those. And because of the voltage protection of the vehicle and the deep cycle battery, you will not be in danger of not being able to start your vehicle the next day. Really great feature to have. Okay, moving on down, starting with the computer. The user interface is very simple. From the off-road menu, it is simply a question of monitoring your systems. And for this is one of my favorite pages on this screen. We have a clinometer that not only gives us our front to back attitude angle and side to side lateral angle, it also gives us wheel angle so we can see the wheel position as we turn, which is important in judging and accessing the line you've picked out for a given obstacle. We have altitude, and then another feature that I really like is this G-force. What that tells you is each vehicle has a center of gravity somewhere within it, based on the engineering that it came out of the factory with. So the G-force loading is an indicator, along with the clinometer, of how close you are to turning your vehicle over, especially at speed. Obviously, at a higher speed in a turn, the G-force loading on the top of the vehicle is going to be much greater, hence the risk of always turning over in too fast of turns. And that G-force gauge gives you the opportunity to see where that G-force loading is. So it's a very good safety tool to kind of keep your eye on. This is a screen that will really help you kind of dial in some of those features. Then, especially in the summer, one of the things, if you're out in the desert or anything like that, keeping an eye on your temperatures is really important. And what Ineos did that I also really like is not only do you get a gearbox temperature and a transfer case temperature, but you also get PSI on all four tires and the tire temperatures themselves. In addition to your engine temperatures, paying attention to your other mechanical temperatures is really essential in saving your equipment. And I think we can all agree with what things cost these days. Being cognizant of ways to really save your equipment is a very important thing. They have the Pathfinder GPS feature, which allows you to upload GPX files into the screen or record paths that you're on. I personally prefer to use a Garmin when I'm off-road, simply because, Garmin's Garmin and its capabilities and features are kind of second to none. But this feature is here for those who want to use it. You, of course, have your CarPlay phone access here. Having CarPlay in this vehicle is a really nice feature. Having CarPlay, but having a simple interface is a perfect marriage, because you get all the complexity of everything that your phone can do, including using things like Onyx and Gaia GPS navigation systems on the screen, and you still have the simplicity of being able to cycle through your mechanical function menus and be able to access things quickly. Audio, very simply, we have XM, we have Apple, regular AM, FM, and that's about it. It's again really simple, but everything that's in your phone plays through the systems. And then your setting menu. Now, It is within the setting fit menu that I think one of the biggest gripes that I've heard about the Ineos Grenadier really manifests itself. And that is, you can hear all these little clicks. This vehicle clicks for almost every conceivable reason. It makes some sort of noise if you're overspeeding, lane departure, seatbelt being off, the doors open, if you look at your spouse the wrong way, whatever. And there is no good way to turn any of those features off, particularly the overspeed indicator, because it's very loud and it's very sensitive. You go a half a mile over the speed limit and it'll start clicking at you. As I said, this is one of the gripes that I've heard a lot of. For me, those are very easy sounds to kind of tune out. And again, when you push the off-road button, all of that goes away. When you're off-road, you don't have to worry about any of those sounds and those clicks. And again, the second kind of complaint I've heard that dovetails off of the clicking has to do overall with how the vehicle drives on-road. And when people ask me how it drives on-road, my simple response is typically it drives as well on-road as something that was built to go off-road really well can do. For anybody that's driven a Defender, it's not going to seem too foreign. It tends to wander on the highway a little bit. It's not very fast. Even with the BMW B58 engine, its acceleration, a turbocharged B58 too, its acceleration's a little long. It's a heavy vehicle, particularly if you have it loaded down. Don't buy this as a performance car, at least in terms of on-road performance. Buy this to use it off-road. Outside of the clicking and the handling, we move down, and the other complaint is the gear shift. As you can see, and I kind of agree with this, it looks a little out of place. This is a BMW gear shift, so anybody that drives a BMW or anything with a BMW engine in it, freight vehicle, anything, will recognize this gear shift. It looks a little space age. One thing I like is that both the differential control and the gear shifter are very distinct shapes. As a former professional pilot, to me that is a very useful thing actually, in that it allows you to identify the lever or the switch that you're going to use without having to look at it. So I don't mind the shape. And in fact, in terms of shifting, this is a very ergonomically advantageous design for a shifter, in my opinion, in that it's very easy to grab, push, click, everything you need to do. And then the last feature, as far as controls are concerned, is going to be the buttons and wheel on the pedestal. This is also a BMW feature. Anybody that's driven a BMW will recognize and will understand its use. Simply scroll, push to select, or you have the menu buttons. If you want a quick search back to another option like off-road, it'll take you straight back there. Take note of the fact that these controls are plastic. They feel a little flimsy, but they're not. The buttons are clunky, kind of like a Jeep. You can mash them with your fists and they're not going to do anything. One more slight complaint that I have, as with anything, there's not enough USB ports in this vehicle. There's a couple USB, I think USB-C and a USB port right there, along with your inverter, 110 volt plug. And then there is another USB-C and USB port in the center console, but that's it. And if anybody from Ineos is watching this, please, more cup holders and more USB ports.